Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the What Women Want Today podcast. This is your host, Terry Kellums. I'm so excited to be with you guys today. I have a guest with me today, Kari Schwear of Grey Tonic. Kari, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Hey, Terry. Thanks for having me. So glad to be with you.
So, Kari, when I came across your business, your website, all of your socials, one of the first questions I asked myself is, what the heck is gray area drinking?
Yeah, it's a good question, right?
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself to the audience, tell us a little bit about you, and we'll dive into this gray area drinking together today.
Yeah, well, thanks. Hello, everyone. I am Kari Schwear. I live in Richmond, Virginia. I've been here about 11 years, and I am an executive coach that specializes in the gray areas of life, particularly drinking, because that was my story. I have many stories, but that's one of my stories. And I'm an author, a speaker. I do workshops, and I have a concierge practice for my coaching clients and a group coaching program. So I love what I get to do.
Awesome. So, Kari, what's the name of your book?
It is called The Successful Mind: Tools for Living a Purposeful, Productive, and Happy Life.
I can't wait to read it. Sounds juicy.
Yeah. One of many authors, I might add. So I'm just one of many, but it is a great book. We all wrote a specific dedicated chapter about what it encompasses to be a successful or have a successful mind. And so my chapter is on my methodology, which is the SABRE method, which is one of my tools that I use with my clients. And for anyone that wants to know what it is, I'm happy to share. So I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So I've interviewed a couple of authors on the show, and they always say once you write a book, you have a second one in you. So do you have a
100%? 100%.
So
oh yeah, I already have the second one actually outlined and ready to go. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, when you put it out there, you'll have to come back on the show and share it with us.
Thanks.
So Kari, I was interested. I think what piqued my interest to talk with you about this today is I've always struggled with the true definition of what it means to be an alcoholic. I grew up with a mom who, probably very similar to a lot of women my age. She loved to go out on the weekends and go dancing, and they would drink. And I saw it escalate over the years. And especially when she entered midlife, she didn't have the easiest life. And I saw her start to use it as a coping mechanism to the point where she ended up with liver damage so severe that they told her she could never drink again, or she would probably die. And, after her passing, we found hidden alcohol all over her apartment. So I've kind of struggled with it because, I've seen people that, I would say, I could definitely say, oh yeah, they have a drinking problem, or that person probably just drinks a little too much. So can you help me and my audience sort of figure out what is the difference between a gray area drinker and someone who's considered an alcoholic?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that I get asked quite frequently. So the best way to describe it is what a gray area drinker is. So a gray area drinker is somebody who is in this in-between space of just socially drinking and severely abusing alcohol. And the term alcoholism is starting to go away. We're really starting to use alcohol abuse disorder much more frequently. And there are 3 categories of alcohol abuse disorder: mild, medium, and severe. So a gray area drinker would really fall in that mild and medium category of alcohol abuse disorder. And somebody who is severely abusing, or that is physically dependent on alcohol, in other words, they need to have alcohol in order to survive, or they will have DTs or withdrawals, is again somebody who would be severely abusing. For me personally, the term alcoholic is really an identity that somebody has for themselves. To me, it's not necessarily to determine whether or not they are physically abusing or not. That's only for the individual to decide.
Mm.
So for me personally, when I decided to quit drinking, I did go the traditional route of AA, but I found it not to be a good fit for me. I didn't identify as being an alcoholic. I didn't identify as needing recovery. I needed discovery. I needed to understand why I was using alcohol in a way that I felt was unhealthy. So I will say that anybody who identifies being in this gray area or as an alcoholic, it's really their own decision what they believe that they are. And there is a quiz that I have on one of my website, both websites actually, that offers someone to see if they're in this gray area or if they're severely abusing.
Mhm.
So that's an option for someone, but really it comes down to what do they believe?
Mhm.
If they think it's a problem and they're starting to have these internal questions, then they want to really be paying attention to that. A gray area drinker is a problematic drinker. So I want to make sure that that's clear. It's not that you're not a problematic drinker. You know, if you're in this gray area and it's starting to become a problem in your life, then it's a problem.
Mhm.
But just because someone drinks more than they want to from time to time does not make them, in my opinion, automatically an alcoholic.
Right.
It really comes down to where do they fall in this abuse category.
I have a male friend who I believe drinks almost every single day during the week. And I think this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem in the way that traditionally we have looked at alcoholics. So this friend, he comes home, he drinks probably a 12 pack almost every evening. On the weekends, I would say it escalates to probably closer to a case. But he's happily married, at least to the outside world, I guess. Loves his children, is a good father, shows up for work, is a hard worker, has a wonderful career, owns a beautiful home. He's responsible by all, stretch of the imagination. So from the outside world, we would look at him and go, well, he probably just drinks too much. But when you look at the amount and the frequency, wouldn't that kind of lean towards you said mild, moderate, and what was the third type?
Severe.
Severe. That would lean more towards the severe, right?
I can't answer that question. Only that gentleman can. It really does come down to, the other thing is if someone is severely abusing it and they're at that point where they, again, need to have it in order to get through the day, you're severely abusing.
Mm-hmm.
You are severely abusing if you get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is psychological. We have a lot of this. I'm not saying it's psychological, that it's just something in our head. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if someone is a problematic drinker, it does affect us psychologically, because any habit that we do happens because the way that our brain works. That's how habits form, which then turns into an addiction. So we have to look at how we're actually thinking and how that works. And that's why I'm saying it's psychological. When it becomes physical, where they have to have it in order to survive, the physical and the psychological addiction is there. That's when it, in my opinion, is when it becomes more of a severe abusive problem for someone. And really only they can decide that, Terry. This is such a personal relationship
Mm-hmm.
that you have with alcohol. When I first decided to quit, I went to see a therapist who specialized in addictions, and she gave me a test to fill out. And when I filled it out, she said, "Oh yeah, yep, you're an alcoholic." And I don't think it's that cut and dry. I really don't. I was that person who could go a month or two at a time and not drink at all. I didn't have to drink. In my definition, a gray area drinker, it is a choice to drink. The other thing I'll say is an estimated 50% of the population that consumes alcohol may be in this gray area. So it's a huge number.
Mm-hmm.
There are more gray area drinkers than there are alcoholics or somebody who is severely abusing.
That's interesting. When I was doing some research for our conversation today, I read that alcohol sales surged 54% during the first week of the pandemic. And then I went on to read more information that says that women increased 17% in frequency, while men only 11%. And so I read that, and I because I do gear my topics towards the female audience and specifically midlife women, even before the pandemic, they were starting to see an increase in alcohol usage in the female population. So, I have to say, I love what you're doing. I'm so thankful that you are doing this. What are you seeing out there? What drives women to come and seek your programs?
A lot of women who come to see me, and men, I coach both men and women, it's really about them feeling better about themselves. They're either hiding something, which usually is an unhappiness space, whether it's in their marriage, in their job, it's from childhood trauma that they've never healed. It is a lack of appreciation. They're searching for love. They're looking for acceptance. They want to use their voice and they're not able to. They can't speak up. They've putting others first, especially women more so, as a female, I know this is true for me. It's always been about others, my kids, my husband, and I put myself last. And that it's exhausting, as a woman, we have a lot on our plate. So the reason why it varies from person to person, but the majority of people will say that it's because they're trying to find out why they don't love the person staring back at them in the mirror. I mean, it's really a lack of self-confidence.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot to take in, to be honest with you. I guess when you're saying that, I'm thinking, I guess I'm always just still searching. I'm searching since my mom is gone. I'm searching for that reason why, she went down that path. And when you're saying that, I could absolutely see those things. She did not have an easy life, and she made some bad decisions when it came to relationships. And yeah, I could see how that would spiral for a woman. And I could see how the pressures that are building for women, I mean, we have it all now, right? I mean, we have the careers, and now we have the career plus all the other things that we have going on. So it's a lot of pressure to put on a woman these days.
Yeah. Well, it appears that we have it all together. I think that was the reason why I drank, is that people from the outside world just thought that I had the greatest life ever, and I didn't feel that way. I really lacked the gratitude in my life. I felt as though I was a victim most of my life, ever since I was really 7 years old is when my life really, really became quite interesting. I mean, my gray area life, as I call it, started at 7 when I was at my parents' home. They were still married out in St. Louis, Missouri, hot summer day. And I just remember looking up and down the street, playing jacks on the driveway, going, really? This is all there is to life? Because if so, this kind of sucks. Like, I don't even know if I want to be here. I mean, the only time I really found life to be exciting is when we were on a vacation, which didn't happen very often. My parents were fighting and getting ready to divorce. And I was only a year or two away from them divorcing at that time. And it's also the same year I declared to my mom, I'm going to be a cigarette smoker. So I became one. I had my first cigarette at age 7 and started smoking on a regular basis by 11, which is just crazy. I had a really painful childhood from that age till about 9th grade, went to 12 different schools. So I carried a lot of that baggage with me into my adulthood. And, I got married young, had my kids young. It was in my 30s when I started drinking on a regular basis. And it was because of the job that I had. I was a food and beverage manager at a country club. It was my job to purchase the wine. I became a wine connoisseur, the wine snob. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. Like, oh, the wine buyer or rep is here for me to pick out the wine for the club. And, I just used that as my excuse. Like, well, everyone in Europe drinks every night. Why can't I? So that's when my drinking became more habitual. And with any habit, it starts off kind of innocently. And before you know it, you're doing it over and over again. And it becomes like anything else that we do over and over again. We train ourselves and it became a habit. And then that habit became more of an obsession. And that's when I realized that I think I might have a problem with alcohol, that me and alcohol together are needing to have a have a breakup here shortly. And that's what happened. I finally had my own enough, which wasn't a rock bottom. That's another, what am I trying to say? Misled thing from somebody that, you have to have this rock bottom in order to quit. That's not true. That's not true at all. Everybody has their own enough. You have to get to that place, whatever that looks like. For me, that was me drinking all day on 4th of July, coming home. And my younger son, 23 at the time, said, "Wow, mom, you're really trashed. You must have been drinking all day." And I had some choice words to say back to him. And it wasn't until the next day he told me what I said to him. And let's just say I busted out in tears and told him that that would never happen again. And that's when I decided that I need to make a change, which is when I went to see that counselor. And I made some significant changes. I did go to AA, like I mentioned. It was not a good fit. After leaving the program, I worked with a coach, and that's actually what changed my life, was working with this coach, which is why I became a coach.
And you said, I believe it was on social media, you said breaking up with wine felt like a death sentence.
Oh, 100%. I thought it, and it was funny is because the way that I coach and teach is I want nothing but the opposite of that for my clients. Is I don't want it to feel like a death sentence. I don't want it to feel like you're losing out. I want it to be the opposite. It's not what they're losing, it's what they're gaining. It's about empowerment. It's about support in a way that you never thought possible. And it's a choice to drink. There's something to be said about I can't have a drink versus I'm choosing not to.
Sure.
And when we get to decide what we want to do on a day-to-day basis, you know, before we start recording, you had shared with me that you made an intention for yourself for today, and you're following through with that intention. And that is one of my lessons, is intentions versus goals. If we have intentions, that's the daily fuel, the micro fuel that carries us through. Goals are like big, lofty things that we get to check off as a to-do list. Intention is about those daily wins that you get to add up for yourself. So it's really important to have intention. And I really focus on the now, the present, what they want, how they want to feel, how they want to be. This has nothing to do with drinking.
So what do you think was the nudge? What was that thing that nudged you that said, I really just want to help people with this? Was there like a moment? Did you have a pivotal moment that you can define?
Yeah, I did. So I think I mentioned I worked with this coach after leaving AA, and he really planted 3 seeds for me at that time. He said, "Kari, I really think you're going to start your own business someday. I think you're going to be a coach, and I think you're going to share your story with the world." And I seriously, I said to him, I said, "Dude, you are smoking some serious crack. That is never going to happen. I'm never going to share my story with anyone." I was so private when it came to that. I mean, there was no way. I was so embarrassed by the whole thing. And then a coach, okay, maybe, but starting my own business, no way. I worked at a really great job. I made 6 figures. I loved my career. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever leaving here. But little did I know, and like all good coaches, he planted those seeds for me. And it was about a year later, I was in church, going to start a small group at my church. The church had a recovery group and told me that I should just attend the recovery group. And I said, "No, I don't want to do recovery. That's not what I'm about. It's not recovery, it's discovery. And I want to talk about gray area drinking." And I had heard that term on a podcast interview. And so at this point, I'm almost 2 years alcohol free. And I hear this term, gray area drinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so me. That's what I was. And if that's how I identify being in this gray area, how many other people are in this gray area that don't know? They just think you're either an alcoholic or you're not. And there's no this in between space. If I can share with other people what this is, maybe I can get them to raise their hand sooner before it becomes a severe addiction. And that's what made me decide I want to do something about this. So after trying to do this at the church, it didn't work out. My girlfriend said, "Hey, just start something on your own. You're so good at this. You're already coaching me and a couple other people." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm not a real coach. I mean, I'm just kind of acting as a coach." And she said, "Well, go become a coach, start your own thing." And that's exactly what I did. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll show that church. I don't need them." And next thing I know, I'm buying a bunch of domain names and started my business. And here we are. And literally that's how it started. And I really believe, Terry, that I was called to do this work. I feel that everything I'd gone through as a child, all the trauma, all the pain, all the just crap had led me to this place and right now, because I mean, you just, you can't imagine how I've been prepared for this. And I see it so clearly. I was truly, truly called to do this work. I know it's my absolute purpose to be here.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. I work with so many women that wish they could just, pinpoint that thing. And I always say that your passions are about you. They're about the things you love, the things you aspire to do and pursue. But purpose is how you show up to serve other people. So that's awesome. I have one question, just to take one little step backwards. I heard you talking and I thought, is part of the reason that people don't want to have a label of alcoholism or I have a problem, is it shame and maybe the lack of being able to be vulnerable about where they really are in life? Do you think that plays into all of this?
100%. This is what keeps people stuck in the gray area. They don't want to say that they're an alcoholic. They don't want to go to an AA meeting. They don't want to go to recovery. They're like, screw that. I'd rather keep doing what I'm doing because, wait for it, nothing has happened yet.
Right.
And because nothing has happened and there are no repercussions from their decision to drink, they continue to drink because they don't want to face the shame or the guilt. They don't want to feel bad that they already feel bad, right? Which is why someone drinks. We choose to drink or overeat when we're not hungry, or watch porn or gamble or shop too much or watch Netflix or scroll through our phone because we don't want to feel the pain. We're either escaping a feeling or chasing a feeling. This is why we do the things that we do. This is why habits are here, because we really get stuck in this loop in our mind that we cannot sit with our feelings, that if we sit with our feelings, then we're going to have to own the feelings and then we're going to have to really do hard work. So the heck with that. I'm going to choose to drink and escape this crap so I don't have to deal with it. This is why it becomes a habitual problem for so many people. And it's, when I'm asking somebody to do, which is why Question the Drink is the name of one of my programs, is because I want them to question the drink, question their relationship with alcohol. Why are you drinking? Get really honest with yourself. That is really important.
I'm glad you went there. Let's talk about your Question the Drink 30-day program. Tell my audience a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So it started last year with Dry January. And I thought, you know what? I want to create a group program for 30 days. I didn't want it to be a challenge. I really wanted it to be more of a group coaching program. So it's online modules and videos. But more importantly, I mean, that's all great because it's a lot of my teaching. But more importantly, it's about the tight-knit community that has been built around this program. So we meet every Wednesday night, like we're meeting tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and we spend an hour to an hour and 15 minutes together as a group, and everyone has an opportunity to share where they're at. But more importantly, what's even been everyone's favorite is a Voxer group. I use this app. Everyone can hear each other every day. We all chime in. Everybody's supportive. And I have men and women. I have my youngest in the group right now is 30 and my oldest is 72.
Wow.
And I have business owners running multi-million-dollar businesses. I mean, multi-million-dollar businesses. And then I have a 72-year-old grandma and a 30-year-old stay-at-home mom and everything in between.
Yeah.
Men and women. So it is, what's funny is you would think like, what the heck would they all have in common? It's called, they just want to be seen, loved, and heard. And they shared this one thing that brought them to the group. But as they realize, and this is the best part about the group, is they come in thinking, okay, I'm going to work on my relationship with alcohol. Yeah. That's definitely part of it. Something I promise you definitely will improve your relationship with alcohol. But more importantly, they improve their relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
They feel so much better. They gain confidence. They have more clarity. They can look at themselves in the mirror. They can, speak up for what they need. They just have a little more pep in their step. I have them take a picture when they first start with me and take one at the end. And it's just, you would think 30 days, what the heck can you see in 30 days? A lot. It shows up in their face and their eyes, the glow that they have, there's so many benefits and do all of them refrain from drinking the entire 30 days? No, there's been a couple that are like, you know what, guys, I had a really freaking tough day last night. And I said, screw it. And I drank.
Yeah.
And I'm in here to share it with you. Like it was hard. It's not AA that they don't get a white chip every time, they have a day one. We don't count days. It doesn't matter about days. It's about the intention, the commitment to themselves, and the grounding pillars that I have for them in place. And then we build upon those pillars.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you are on LinkedIn. I know you're on Facebook, Instagram. I know you have two different websites. I will make sure to include all that in the show notes. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about today that you would like the listeners to know?
I would love the listeners to be encouraged and not to be embarrassed or shamed if you are questioning whether it's your relationship with alcohol, or maybe you're questioning your relationship with your marriage, or maybe it's your job, to pay attention to those places in your life that you feel is a gray area. And if drinking is one of those areas and you want to know if you're a gray area drinker, I have an awesome interactive fun quiz for you to take. It will tell you instantly if you are where you fall in the gray, either the light, medium, or darker shade of gray, as I kind of call it, or if you're outside of the gray area. So if you're interested in that, it's on both websites, grayareadrinking.com, gray is GRAY, or graytonic.com, which is my main business. And I have to share really quick,
Sure.
Gray Tonic, the name, when I first named the business, well, that is my business name, Gray Tonic. And I had a couple people say, well, it sounds like a dirty drink. Like, what is it? And I just laugh because once they know why it was chosen, everybody gets it. So tonic, if you look the word up, tonic in the dictionary, besides it meaning medicinal drink, it also means a strengthener, pick me up, boost, energizer, invigorator, like all these beautiful words. And so I really look at my coaching practice as being someone's tonic to them being in the gray, no matter where they are in the gray. Like, again, my story, I have multiple gray areas, but one of them was drinking, which is what got me started on this journey. And I want to be that someone's tonic. Let's get you feeling really good.
Love it. Love it. One last question for you today, Kari, as we wrap up.
Yeah.
What is it that you think women want today?
Oh, that's a good question, Terry. For me, I would say that women want to be able to use their voice and be heard. And I think a lot of times we're shushed away, or, we're not able to speak up. That a lot of this may stem from years ago. And I think we've been able to speak up a little bit more. But I think we feel as though if we say something, we're worried about ruffling feathers. Like if we're not happy in a marriage, or we're not happy at a job, or we're struggling with something, or we feel depressed, or we have shame, or we have guilt about something, that they got to keep quiet. And I really encourage women to feel empowered enough and inspired to say something to someone, even if it's just one person, how you really, really feel. And when you're able to use your voice and really feel free to do that, is when your life will change. And I encourage every human to feel that way.
Oh, I love that. I strongly believe that we should not have to go through things alone. Things are always better in community with other people. So I love that, Kari. Thank you for sharing that with me. And thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Terry. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.